China has overtaken the U.S. as the branded coffee shop capital of the world, and much of that success due to one chain in particular. Li Jianhua has more.
Everybody knows that China is traditionally a tea-drinking country. But how about coffee? Is it as popular in China as it is elsewhere in the world? Starbucks dominates the world's coffee market, but in China, a new brand recently knocked them off the top spot. And their success says a lot about coffee culture in China. Starbucks operates over 6,500 stores in China. Luckin Coffee, a homegrown brand founded in 2017, overtook Starbucks in June 2023 and became the largest coffee chain in China with 10,000 stores. But wait! In June 2020, Luckin was delisted from the Nasdaq because of accounting fraud, for which the company had to pay a penalty of $180 million. So how did the tables turn, and how did Luckin manage to capture China's heart? First, who drinks coffee in China? The earliest coffee house in record was set up in 1836 by a Danish person in southern China's Guangzhou. It was called by the Chinese then as black wine. But it was only when millennials and later Gen Z became the main consuming group that coffee, especially freshly ground coffee, became a leading beverage. Coffee's market value is expected to exceed $30 billion by 2025. And Luckin is dominating that market with cheap, innovative and fun products, mainly appealing to Gen Z. 80% of coffee drinkers are aged between 20 and 35, and they either drink it to wake up or to socialize with friends. Unlike Starbucks, which provides a cozy and comfortable environment to sit and chat, Luckin's stores are usually quite small and are more, here we go, grab and go. Coffee culture has also embraced the digitalization. Consumers order from mobile apps so that drinks are ready when they arrive, and they can also get them delivered to their workplace. And you can get your coffee anywhere at any time. The Chinese market's love of innovation has embraced Luckin's co-branding partnerships. In September, the company introduced a liquor-flavored latte together with China's most high-end alcohol brand, Maotai. That has captured many young Chinese commuters' hearts. On launch day, over 5 million cups were sold, and that single-day turnover exceeded $13 million. Can they stay on top? Well, who knows? In the lightning speed of change in the Chinese consumer market, you always need to stay ahead of the game.
Meanwhile, McDonald's launched a new beverage-focused concept, a restaurant called Cosmics this month. The company plans to open 10 locations by the end of 2024. But the branch is already making quite a big splash. Dan Williams has more.
A long line of cars snakes through a parking lot in Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Okay, come on.
This is the queue to be among the first in the country to taste menu items from Cosmics, McDonald's new concept brand.
Good afternoon. How may I help you today?
Even lines of more than 3 hours weren't enough to put off customers.
I really wanted to come down today because I feel like in 10 years, when Cosmics becomes super big, and we can say that we're the first people to come here.
I think we wanted to experience something that's one of a kind, and first, hopefully it is start of something cool that we can tell our kid that we went to the very first one ever opened.
For now, the store is drive-through only. Products on the menu include donut-like pastries and pretzel bites. But the key focus is on beverages, with coffees, teas and lemonades that can all be customized.
You're always going to remember the first Cosmic, and Bolingbrook is the home of the first Cosmic.
Mary Alexander Baster is the mayor of Bolingbrook.
This is going to be a very good experience for McDonald's because of the vast majority of people that are coming in are not shy to give their opinions and face back.
For locals, the excitement around this new restaurant, at least in this early stage, is clear to see. But for McDonald's, the key question remains, is this the start of something big, allowing the company to expand its footprint beyond its core burger-centered concept?
Well, this looks like a direct attack on Starbucks and on Dunkin'. The challenge for McDonald's is the one that pretty much every company faces, which is how do you keep growing over time? And I think there's two things that really feed into this. One is just a question of how many McDonald's do we really need? The company's opening up more stores, but for the base McDonald's concept, you can only put so many out there before you have to start doing something new. The other piece, though, is that there's this huge opportunity in the world of drinks and snacks, and I think they've said that's a great opportunity for growth.
McDonald's plans to launch 10 branches of its new restaurant by the end of next year.
We got the latte.
Hoping Cosmic's appeal will rocket out of this world. Dan Williams, CGTN, Bolingbrook, Illinois.
For more things coffee and drinks, we're joined by Dan Cox, the founder and owner and president of Coffee Enterprises, a quality control testing lab and consultancy to both the coffee and tea industries. Dan, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Phil, I wish I could see you.
We talk a lot about drinks. We know the margins are good in that particular business. We just ran the story with China and Luckin Coffee, talking about them being sort of #1 or the up and coming. Now, they're mainly in China, but they're also growing as well. What's behind the success in particular of that company?
Luckin's success is its simplicity and the small size and the ease of transactions. There are very few people that work at Luckin's, and that's very intentional. What I don't feel real concerned about is the quality of their beverages. They're okay, but I wouldn't put them on the same level as Dunkin', Starbucks, and maybe Dutch Brothers and some of the other big ones here. What's really different is, up until recently, American companies moved into China with their brands. Now, with the emergence of Luckin and Coty, these are homegrown brands, very different. And they certainly know the culture of China better than the Americans do. We're pretty quick studies, and we have a lot of Chinese partners, but it's not the same, and certainly the language barrier is always something to be considered.
I was going to say that, look, it's no secret that Starbucks has had much success in China. In fact, the reason why investors like Starbucks is because of the opportunities in China. But at the same time, the Chinese see the same thing, right? They're coming into the country, they're making all this money, they're making a big splash, and they think, well, why can't we do it? And of course, China is big enough that there could be multiple winners. It doesn't have to be just one company that gets the whole market. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely correct. So in your lead story, you talked about China becoming the #1 world's leader in retailers with about 50,000 stores. The United States has about 40,000 stores. If you flip that and say, hey, the United States is 1/4 your size and is actually smaller geographically, the room to increase in China is vast, hugely vast. So what American companies need to do is make it easy to do transactions. And what we're seeing as a major change are two things. #1, cashless transactions. That is a really big deal. Because when you're dealing with cash, you're dealing with people. And with people, you have all sorts of interesting issues. When you're dealing with credit cards, even though you're paying for that, the service, it can be much faster to order and pay and then go pick up. Secondly, the size of the stores. You don't need a huge store. You don't need restrooms for customers. You can move very quickly through drive-through if you use the Disney approach. And the Disney approach is always keep the line moving. Don't let people sit too long. That's a big key, and it tends to work really well. And then lastly, some of the innovative beverages they're coming out with and innovating bites. What's really different for McDonald's, and this is huge, McDonald's has always been a fries, burger, and Coke. That was their big three. They're not doing burgers. They're not doing fries. They will have an Egg McMuffin, but they've got these other items, McPops, pretzel bites. These are kind of innovative.
But the thing about Cosmic, so I think in the story we said they're opening 10 stores next year. Why not be more aggressive? And they're basically, in some respects, duplicating what Starbucks has already done, right? They're making high margin drinks, whether it's teas, juices, fruits, or coffee. They're trying to duplicate that. Why not be more aggressive? Why only 10 stores?
Well, this is part, I think, of McDonald's culture, and they tend to open things in the hinterlands to see how it's going. Now, their first store is in McDonald's territory. It's in their target zone, so they have easy access for executives to go and check it out and see what's going on. But they don't want to necessarily devote $1 billion to a concept that may or may not work. So I agree with you. Once you've figured out that the concept works and you have proof of concept, then you watch what happens. Then it's a matter of geography and who can get the best locations. It will come.
Right.
The other question I have is McDonald's is essentially a franchise organization. They have about 4,000 company-owned stores called McCapco, but the reality is they're franchised. So are they going to partner with people? Are they going to have distributorships exclusive, or are they going to have more franchises? And a franchise concept is very different than a company-owned store like Starbucks. Very different.
So you got Luckin going after Starbucks in China and possibly even Asia as well. You got this Cosmic that's sort of going after the same demographics of drinks. Where does that leave Starbucks? The last time I was in a Starbucks, I wasn't too happy when, a cup of coffee, depending on what you get, is now $6, $7, $8. And there's been some talk that, look, you can keep raising prices, but at some point, consumers are going to push back on a drink.
I fully agree. Candidly, it really annoys me because I know the cost of goods and labor and all that really well. But a $5 cup of coffee to me is not value added necessarily. The first thing I do is how much is the farmer getting? Right now, coffee prices are pretty good. They're about $1.90 a pound green. This is good for consumers, and this is good for the coffee farmers. But what Starbucks has done in China is they invest in the infrastructure. They just put $220 million into a production and distribution facility in Kunshan. That's a big deal. They also have a tech center in Shenzhen. Not too many of the coffee companies, I don't know of another one that does that. So when Starbucks decides to target, they're just not targeting with stores, they're targeting with infrastructure, distribution, marketing.
Yep.
And if you've ever been to one of their our stores, they're unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, you walk out with a $40 tab. I'm well aware. One thing that they all have in common is really fantastic marketing. I guess we'll let them fight it out. Dan, good to see you. Appreciate the insights on this. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Phil, and happy holidays.